Nightmares and dream demons? Is it possible the movie Nightmare on Elm Street has a little bit of truth to it, where some type of entity watches you and or attacks you in your dreams? So today we're going to talk about the worldwide phenomena of the shadow people. Hatman phenomena, nightmare sightings reported worldwide. All shadow people are terrifying, but the Phantom Hatman may be one of the worst of all. But of all the shadow people that visits you at night, the Hatman may be the most creepy. It's been discovered that there are different classes of shadow people, and this terrifying man with the hat is among them. He's been spotted all over the world, and according to people who've shared their stories, the Hatman has apparently been around for a while. What are shadow people? It's certain these dark apparitions aren't human, but with all kinds of theories about their existence, from time travelers to aliens, no one really knows what they are or where they came from. The Hatman is believed to be one of them, and although he's extremely mysterious, many witnesses claim he's over 6 feet tall and always wears a hat. According to creepy stories about the Phantom Hatman, he appears during times of emotional turmoil or distress and will often observe you as you sleep. Who is the Phantom Hatman? Humanity may never know, but if he ever pays you a visit, consider yourself special or cursed. The Hatman is said to wear a fedora or top hat, a trench coat, and have glowing red eyes. According to everyone who's seen him, the Hatman appears as a completely dark figure like other shadow people. The obvious difference is that the Hatman wears a hat, which has appeared as a top hat in some sightings, and a fedora in others. While many people are unable to make out what he is wearing, some report seeing an old-fashioned clothing, a long trench coat or a cape, and he always appears at least 6 feet tall. The Hatman's face is also usually indistinguishable. Although some people claim the Hatman has attacked them, he is usually content just to watch. People who claim that the Hatman has attacked them tell stories about being jumped and or choked and have experienced burning in their chest or tingling on their scalp. Shadow people are said to often do this. The Hatman is also happy just watching. He tends to stay longer than most shadow people as well, and he's been spotted watching people in the mirror, bending over them while they sleep, or just hanging out in the corner with a creepy smile on his face. Perhaps not attacking a person and simply observing from afar is much more terrifying, especially since many people insist Hatman has a solid form unlike other shadow people, and while shadow people tend to just disappear when it's time for them to leave, Hatman has been seen floating above the ground or walking away. So yeah, this is a worldwide phenomena where people see a silhouette man in their dreams, sometimes wearing a trench coat or a top hat or just a shadowy figure. And what's very interesting, I made a video on TikTok talking about demons, and there was a thread in the comment section that was started by people claiming to see the shadow top hat man or seeing the shadow people, and I thought this was very fascinating because I experienced a similar experience to what they're talking about. And I'm just going to show you a clip of my TikTok where I talk about the comments that were made on that thread.
So this is one of the comments. Lots of people have seen shadow people, which are demons. There is a more specific one wearing a top hat that's commonly seen. Any thoughts? And then it talks about my experience with seeing the shadow people after waking up from a terrifying dream. Then other people start commenting their similar experience. Here's what another guy had to say. I had a dream prior to COVID where some were in a bread line and others shopping like normal. There was a man in a hat. The rest of us wore rags. I talked to him from the bread line. If I remember right, it was a purple pinstrip hat and suit. He was off-putting yet inviting, creepy and intriguing. Another guy said, dude, WTH, I thought I was the only one. Literally tall shadow guy with a top hat, and sometimes I even see a little boy beside him. That's giving me goosebumps, man. Another guy says, I've seen demons wearing top hats. I don't know anyone else who has seen that. I believe they were more power or evil. I've seen them. They run so fast from me. Cracks me up. They're scared to light for them. Another guy says down below, the OMG, the shadow guy with the hat, had a dream about him looking from my window.
Yeah, very strange, creepy, and mysterious that a Freddy Krueger-like being, right, an entity, sometimes wearing a top hat or just a shadow being, appears in your dreams and attacks you or just watches you. Months ago, I had a very similar experience. I had a terrifying nightmare, and in this nightmare, I had a dream that a woman was chasing me with a knife. So in the nightmare, I'm all alone in my city, and all of a sudden, I see a woman with a knife standing in the street, starting to approach me slowly. And while they are approaching me with the knife, like who this entity is, I start backing up and the entity starts walking even faster. And then I run towards my car and I start speeding towards my house, and she continues to run faster and faster towards me with the knife. Then I get to my house and I run upstairs to my room, and she's following me with that knife, hell-bent on attacking me or something, and I'm scared and spooked out of my life. So I get to my house, I run upstairs to my room, then all of a sudden I wake up, so the dream's over, and I'm looking around my room completely spooked, right? And it's very dark in my room, it's about 4 a.m. And the very strange thing is, it's dark in my room, but the darkness near my door is extra dark. And as I start staring at my door, I see a shadowy silhouette figure start to kind of disappear. And I'll show you kind of a drawing of what I experienced, a shadowy silhouette figure. And when I was staring at this entity, the shadows were all moving around like fluid, like it was slowly starting to disappear. And I'm just staring at it, spooked out of my mind, trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And my eyes are absolutely lit up, like I'm spooked out of my mind, looking at this entity by my door. So I am both terrified and also curious, but I was more terrified than curious, so I decided to go back to bed and pretend like I never saw that. But then after I woke up in the morning, I realized I saw something weird. And that's why the thread that was started about the shadow people on my TikTok was very interesting, because I experienced the same thing. Hatman often appears during times of trauma, aggression, or other negative emotional disturbances. And this is very true. I had this dream months ago, and during this time I was going through a mental state of disassociation. So the type of disassociations I was having was depersonalization and derealization. It's the mental state where reality around you feels like a dream. It's like being inside of a glass wall or bubble. That's what the feeling of disassociating feels like. When you disassociate, often time feels very fast or very slow. In my case, time felt extremely fast, and the entire world just felt like a dream to me during these periods of disassociation. The closest example I can give you of what disassociating feels like is this. Imagine you walk into your house, right? And everything in your house is pretty much normal, except every single thing in your house has been moved 3 inches to the left, and you can't figure that out. It's the feeling that everything feels almost normal, and at the same time, everything is slightly off, but you can't pinpoint your finger at what's wrong with your reality right now. How come everything looks slightly different? Well, that's what disassociating feels like, and it's caused by all kinds of reasons. And there are all kinds of things that cause disassociation, such as depersonalization or derealization, but I'm not really going to get into that right now. I'll get into that in another video if you guys are interested, so comment if you want to see a video like that. And when you're disassociating, you experience emotional numbness, where your body just completely shuts off your emotions. So you don't feel happiness, but you don't feel sadness either. You don't feel nostalgia. You're just completely neutral and numb, and you feel like you're in a dream, and everything just feels weird and off. And I've always wondered, like, is this a spiritual attack? Is this the byproduct of getting your reality shattered? Like, what is this feeling? Why does it happen? But yeah, so the Hatman often appears during times of trauma, aggression, or other negative emotional disturbances. So that was the only instance where I had the so-called shadow people, or the top Hatman, appear to me after a nightmare. It's very bizarre and creepy, and I do not wish that on anybody. Some people believe that the Hatman emits a very powerful negative energy and feeds off the fear he causes. So the idea is that the Hatman, or the shadow people that people are experiencing, are demonic entities. So what I've learned about demonic entities is they are like parasites. They are spiritual parasites who feed off people's negative emotions. They feed off trauma. They feed off fear. And they need a host to thrive in this world. They need a physical host. A person who is physically sick and unhealthy and doesn't take care of himself, they're more prone to parasites and bacteria, right? Because parasites love bodies who are just sick. Because parasites, bacteria, they like bodies that are just sick and super overly acidic, and it becomes the perfect home for these parasites. People who give into fear and anxiety or have had traumas, these demonic entities, they feed off that energy because they need a host. So they go after people who have open spiritual doorways through all kinds of means, whether it's through substance abuse, as I mentioned, fear, anxiety, trauma, anger. And what's really interesting about the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, it was actually based off a real phenomenon that was happening in Southeast Asia. So the director got the inspiration for Nightmare on Elm Street for a real wide phenomenon. Director Wes Craven said that the Hmong deaths were what had inspired him in the first place. It was a series of articles in LA Times. 3 small articles about men from Southeast Asia who were from immigrant families and had died in the middle of nightmares. Craven told the reporter, explaining how he came up with the idea for his 1984 hit film Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street was based off a real phenomena of spirits attacking people in their dreams, and of healthy men after nightmares dying in their sleep. And what's also really fascinating, I've been learning about a guy named Jerry Marzinski. So Jerry Marzinski is a psychotherapist, and he's been a psychotherapist for 35 years, and he deals with schizophrenic patients. And he's been an atheist all his life until one of his patients made him change his mind, one of his schizophrenic patients.
So he comes in, he sits down, and I said, well, what is it they have to say? And I'll never forget this. His voice tone changes just a little bit lower, and these words come out of his mouth. You have no right to interfere with our way of life. And I'm like, bam. And he said, that wasn't me. That wasn't me saying that. And I'm like, what the blazes is going on here? It was at that point, you know, after getting all this other information for years, that my denial system, it was just hanging by tatters, completely collapsed. About that time, I was reading a book written by the shaman Miguel Ruiz, who was talking about these entities that enter people's minds and, you know, tell them bad things, and that they were energy parasites. Now, one thing I'd noticed was that every time these voices attacked a patient, their energy level would drop down to almost nothing.
But yeah, guys, this is a very weird, creepy phenomenon. I've experienced it myself. Let me know if you guys have experienced the same thing, shadow people or the top hat man visiting you in your dreams. By the way, guys, if you enjoyed this channel and you like the research I do and you want to support it, I do have a Patreon where I post early access to my longer YouTube videos, such as this one, which will be on there first. Where you get ad-free early access to my longer YouTube videos, is you get to choose your price. If you want to pay $5 a month, you can pay $5. If you want to even pay $1 a month, you pay $1, and you get the same benefit: ad-free early access to videos such as this one and other upcoming videos that I'm going to have. But yeah, let me know what you guys think and what your experiences are, and we are done.